Good evening. I'm Alex Hurd, and welcome to The Conscious Father. I am joined, as always, with my friend Tom Hillgardner. Tom, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Glad to be here with you, and I'm excited about tonight's topic.
Yeah, man. So it's a broad one, right? I mean, there's so many different directions that we can go with tonight's topic, but the focal point that we've decided to go with tonight is being a role model for your children within your profession or what you choose to do for your work, your workaday life. The reason why you leave the house in the morning, or in some cases, you're working from home. You want to touch upon that a little bit?
Yeah, man. This is probably like the most important for me, like one of the biggest episodes that we're going to do. And I can guarantee you that there's going to be multiple episodes on this topic, covering it from many different angles. But, before I was even a father, before I was even married, like 10 years ago, I went through somewhat of like a quarter life crisis where I was going through society's system of, do this, and this, and then you'll be successful. You'll have a good job, and you'll have your good benefits, and you'll have your way to your good retirement, and you have a nice home, and the whole gamut. And I'll tell you, man, something in me was so dead. I was going to college, and I couldn't find like the major. I couldn't find what it was that I wanted to study for, and it really hit me like bigger than anything in my life, because our career is so much of who we are. It's so much of our expression in this lifetime. And I remember like over 10 years ago, when I was just a whippersnapper, thinking to myself, when I come home one day, when I have a family, and I come in the door and my kids come up to me and say, Dad, how was your day at work? What's my response going to be? Is it going to be like, yeah, it was a good day. Dad sold, like 5 new pairs of shoes at a shoe store, or what, and that's great if that's my passion, my calling, but what do I say to them if I'm doing something that it's not my passion, it's not my calling? And it really drove me to a huge point of my life of saying, why am I here on this planet? What is my role? What is my contribution?
I would be willing to bet that most people, when they come home from work, not all, certainly not all, but most, probably answer their children the way you just did in that example. Oh, good. I had a good day. You have that. It's almost it's a habitual response of, hey, how was your day at work? Oh, it was good. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. What do you want for dinner?
Yeah, exactly. Can we move as far away from this as humanly possible? And again, that's not everybody. And even those people who aren't engaged with the answer to that question, because it is probably just a habitual response for most of us. And I'll be honest, most days for myself, it's a habitual response. Because for me, when I walk through the door, it's about spending time with my family and kind of hitting the switch. I say that I'm able to hit the switch and leave stuff at work, which in itself is kind of an interesting thing, right? Why do you want to leave stuff at work if it's something that is completely driving you, you're in tune with, you're plugged in, you're passionate about? I mean, there's going to be a separation there. Maybe the way in which you're carrying it with you may change. But why do you want to hit the switch? And if that's the answer to that question, hey, how was your day at work? Man, I just want to hit the switch and leave it behind. Then that's that's a good question to ask yourself.
It is. And bringing up this whole topic about being a role model, I want my kids to not be pressured by some system that says, this is what it means to be success, and they feel pressured or obligated to follow some system that's outside of their own heart. And I also want them to recognize that sometimes, if not many times, which I can attest to, following your heart is not always an easy path.
It's rare. It's rarely an easy path.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes doing that sort of 9-to-5 job that may not be your calling, it may not be your passion, may give you a decent wage, enough to give you, kind of a lifestyle that creates a little comfort for you and your loved ones. On one hand, it's completely, a lot of people, being a life coach for the last 10 years, I've had numerous people from all around the world that have come to me and they're like, I can't do this anymore. Like I've just hit my end. But yet they can't just up and quit because they've got obligations, financial obligations that they have to attend to. But there is that point where we all have to really ask ourselves, why are we here? And what contribution do we want to make so that we feel that we're valued in this world and that we're contributing to helping this planet evolve in a more loving, connected, whatever quality is important to you within the world, within humanity, to me is one of the biggest questions that we can ask ourselves. And being on that journey, stepping out away from that path of doing the step of what, the society says to do, it has been an incredibly rewarding journey of feeling like I have touched so many people's lives, and in return, my life has been greatly touched. And this constant confusion and uncertainty, and it's been a practice to kind of learn how to rest comfortably in the uncertainty of the next month, the next year, and where it's all, because when you're in a system, you can say, well, okay, when I get my raise next year, and maybe in 10 years, I'll be able to move to this position. And then at this age, I'll be able to retire. But sometimes when you follow your gut and your passion and what you're here for, that road is totally unclear.
So, I think a lot of times when we talk about parenting, or think about parenting, we think in ideals, right? Like, what do I want for my children? I want my children to know that they can follow their dreams and their hard work is going to get them anything that they want in this world. And that we want to help them identify what they're passionate about and all these different things. But a lot of times we're not living that ourselves. And, you touched upon such a large part of our life is spent at our jobs. I leave my house at 5:15 in the morning and I get home at 4:30. So, there's almost 12 hours a day that I'm just not within the walls of my home or having the opportunity to spend time with my family. And if you're going to choose to spend 45% of your life somewhere else, it should be feeding you. Not putting food on the table, albeit part of it, but it should be feeding you. And that should resonate to your children. And it's not always like that. I certainly have days, but it's not always like that. And how it's interesting. How can they believe that to be a possibility if they're not seeing it in us?
So when Rowan and Amron are in their early 20s and they're getting ready to, start asking the questions, what do I want to do with my life? And they're not only asking the questions, but they're being asked the questions by teachers and family members. And, so what's your next steps? What school are you going to go to? And what are you going to study? And what do you want to do with that? When your girls are at that place in their life, how do you hope that your role as a father and the way you live your life with your career, how do you hope to impact them at that time of their life?
I hope at that point in their lives, their questions will be few. And the reason I say that is because I'm hoping to lay the groundwork now. So when they get to that stage, their questions will be few because they'll already know. Because I will have instilled in them what I feel are the most important things to reaching and meeting your life's journey, professionally and personally at that point in their lives. What I would tell them to do is don't worry about money. Don't let that be a driving factor in the decisions you make. If that's one of your priorities, then certainly allow it to be part of the decision process. but make what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, what your magic is. Follow what your magic is, and everything else will fall in line.
You know, you touched on the hammer on the nail, man, and it's money. Like, I've got friends, and I myself have been in places. I've got friends that are in big cities and they're doing amazing work. I mean, they are living their dream, and they're on the verge of saying, should I go get a corporate job? Should I put all of this heart that I've invested to help others and to like put who I am out there and say, this is who I am, and how can I use this in a way that I can earn an income, help my family, and help the world? And it can be challenging. You know, it's like we don't want our kids to worry about money, and yet that's the exact thing that drives us as human beings to do things that isn't really what we want. You know?
Yeah, completely. And that's not for everybody, but man, I would be, my number one concern is finances. You know, finances, family, health. Those are the big ones, right? But you'd be remiss if you were saying finances didn't play a huge part in your decision-making process. They have to be, out of self-preservation. But I also think that has been kind of beaten into us during the course of our lives and our family's generation, the generation beforehand. So, you know, what I hope for is that will be less of a driving factor in the decisions that my children make when it comes to the things that they want to follow. That's what I hope. I hope that the impact in the influence isn't as great for them as I feel it is for me.
Yeah. You know, I think talking to you, the thing that comes up for me right now that I would hope to instill in both my kids and Andre and Anne when they get to that age is to not think that whatever it is outside of them, so that they become the mouse chasing the cheese, and that happiness and what they desire is always out there and they're constantly going for it. And what I've learned in this 10-year journey of really, you know, going at self-entrepreneurship and going at my career alone is that it's so much to do with relationships. I've had to get jobs, 9-to-5 jobs at certain points in the last 10 years for financial reasons or for familial reasons. And I did it because it had to be done. You know, it had to be. I had to put my own passions and creative drive aside for a time being because, you know, we had to put some bread on the table in a sense, you know. But what I've learned, I've got a family member who's a very successful business person, and he's kind of a practical person, and he'll tell me straight up. He'll say, you know, this isn't what I feel like I came to this planet to do. I wasn't born to do this, but I enjoy it. And I'll tell you, he is so, and the reason why I mention him is because he is so well respected. Every employee that works for him and every client that I've ever bumped into that's worked with him, you know, that's hired him, they have such high regard. And so I want my children to know a couple of things. I want them to know that each job that you get, whether it's your first job at a fruit produce stand where you're turning over fruits making minimum wage, or whether it's a huge high-paying Fortune 500 company, each job is serving a huge purpose for who you're becoming and what you're getting ready to step into for the next chapter of your life. And to not take advantage, to not overlook the people that you're working with, even though sometimes day to day it can kind of get, you know, we overlook the relationships, we overlook the people because we can get so, I'm overwhelmed and I can't stand this, you know, this job, I need to get out. Don't overlook those things. Remember, relationships are the most important things that who you're meeting now, you have no idea what doors and what bridges are going to happen in the future because of.
Absolutely. Yeah. it's we said at the beginning of the show, I mean, this is kind of scratching the surface of a much greater topic, which is, one, being a role model for your children. But what we talked about tonight is really, really relevant, because as adults, it's plays such a large part of our daily lives, and it resonates through our family, not just our children, but our significant others and our family members and what they want for us. So I mean, this is a great topic. It's been a great conversation, and Tom, I want to thank you, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We really appreciate you checking out our show. And, if you find something that resonates with you, we'd love it if you'd leave a comment or like one of our YouTube or Facebook pages. And certainly, please share it with anybody you think might benefit from anything that we're talking about in one of our shows. So thanks a lot, Alex. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, man.